All right, hi everyone. I thought again for this week I'll put together a really brief video just walking you through some of the assignments here for week number 7 and some of the resources that are available to you. So in addition to the lecture that's available in this week, you also then have some videos that provide some good supplemental information for you on different types of grants. And so this first video here you see on the screen, categorical grants, mandates, in the Commerce Clause, talks about categorical grants, talks about the constitutional basis for mandates, and links them back to the Commerce Clause. And again, the Commerce Clause is that one part of Article 1, Section 8 that Congress really does rely upon in order to expand its power over state and local governments. And what the Supreme Court has said is it is relatively tolerant of Congress imposing these mandates on state and local governments as long as Congress is able to show the thread that ties their action together with interstate commerce. As long as there is a direct identifiable connection between the mandate that's being proposed and interstate commerce, typically the Supreme Court is willing to allow that mandate as something that is constitutional. If, however, the federal government, Congress, cannot demonstrate a clear link between interstate commerce and the mandate, that is when we tend to see the Supreme Court say no to Congress and find those mandates to be unconstitutional. So as a really quick video talks about those items. Another very quick one that then compares categorical grants and block grants. So again, just some good supplemental information for you. In terms of your assignments for this week, you've got a couple. You have, again, your discussion board, which you have become very familiar with over the past several weeks. In this discussion board, we're going to be looking at non-tax revenue sources, kind of pulling some information from our video last week, looking at revenue sources and looking primarily at the non-tax part of those revenue sources. So what we're asking you to do in this PowerPoint presentation is to present the primary non-tax revenue sources that cities tend to utilize to generate revenue. This is a general discussion, so we're talking cities in general, plural, not necessarily your specific city for this one question. So go ahead and present what are the major types of non-tax revenue sources that cities generally tend to use. Then for the second part, we're looking for you to look specifically at your city. So which non-tax sources of revenue are most prominent in your city? It's a good practice if you can include some screenshots in your PowerPoint presentation from your budget to show what non-tax sources of revenue tend to be used in the city, whether those be, again, user charges, such as charges for sewer or utility use, fines and forfeitures, fees, those types of things. And so, throw a screenshot up there just to kind of show us in your presentation what non-tax sources are being used by your city. Then why does your city rely upon these revenue sources? Now, this may be speculative on your part. You're probably not going to see a whole lot of discussion in your city budget about this is why we use this type of fine or this type of fee. But this is something you can kind of develop on your own, and based upon your knowledge of the city, your knowledge of what non-tax revenue they tend to use. Why do you think that they use those forms of non-tax revenue sources? And then would you recommend that they change? Would you recommend that they find a new source of revenue? Why or why not? And then the format, how it usually works. So you'll put that together in your discussion board presentation. You'll narrate it, post it, and then respond to two of your colleagues. Again, as per usual. Then your second assignment is another journal entry for this week. Again, when you do your journal, please type directly into the journal area rather than uploading a link. And that hasn't been a problem to this point, so I'm sure you all have the hang of that pretty well. What I'm asking you to do in this journal is pretend you're talking to a class of high school seniors who ostensibly don't know anything about intergovernmental fiscal relations. They don't know anything about grants. Explain to them in your own words the different types of grants that are used in intergovernmental fiscal relations. Describe to the high school students how each type of grant works. Explain the advantages and disadvantages of the different types of grants. And then finally, select one specific grant that you know of, that you are familiar with, and provide examples of the positive and negative aspects of that specific grant. So for this journal entry, you're going to have those 4 items that you'll be addressing. very basic explanation of the different types of grants available, then describing how those grants work, explain advantages and disadvantages of the different types of grants, and then select one grant that you have a passing familiarity with and provide some examples of the positive and negative aspects of that grant. So that's your journal reflection to go along then with your discussion board presentation. As always, any questions at all, feel free to contact me, but I hope you have a great week as we start to head down the stretch very close to the end of the class. Take care and have a great week.